Happy December, everyone! Today I'm going to show you how I made this Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer cake with an LED light-up nose. I'm going to start with an 8-inch round chocolate cake, and I'm just going to cut off the sides. Then I'm going to torn it down the center to make 2 layers. Once I have the cake filled and stacked, we can start carving our details. I want the nose to stick out farther than the rest of the face, so I mark a line where the top of the nose is going to be and then cut down from the top of the cake to take about ½ an inch of cake away. Then I'm going to use the offcuts from earlier to make a cake pop mixture and then build up the cheeks. I'm cutting away cake where I want the eyes to be. Now it's time to crumb coat. I'm using the offcuts from earlier to make the snout. Then I use another small piece of cake to build up the chin. Once I have the whole cake covered in buttercream, I'm going to roll out a sheet of light brown fondant about 1/8 of an inch thick. Then cover the cake and use my hands and fondant tools to smooth the fondant and press in any details. Then I roll out a sheet of darker brown fondant to place over the forehead and eye area. Then I cut around the eyes using an X-Acto knife. I'm using 2 ovals of white fondant for the eyes and then just pressing them into place. Now let's add some eyelashes. I use 2 circle cutters to mark where I want the iris and pupils to go, and then I use edible food markers to color them in. Using white fondant, I add catch lights to the eyes and spots to the top of his head. this point, I decided I wanted to add a Santa hat, so I gently moved the cake to the bottom of the cake board to have more room. Then using off-white fondant, I add 2 antlers. Then using my dark brown fondant, I'm going to cut 2 ears and place them on the head so that they're pointed down as if the hat is pushing them down. For the hat, I'm going to start out by covering the top of the head in red fondant. Then I'm going to roll out a thicker strip of white fondant for the fur at the bottom of the hat. For the top of the hat, I'm using a separate piece of fondant and just blending in the edges. Now it's time to make the nose. For the nose, we're actually going to be using blown isomalt. I start out by melting my isomalt and coloring it red, then pouring it onto a silicone mat to slowly start cooling it down. As it cools, it'll start to thicken and start to stick to itself. Once I have it cool enough to handle, I can slowly start pulling the isomalt to add air in. Then form the isomalt around the end of my sugar blowing tool. Once it's secured on the end, I slowly start pumping air into the sugar until it starts to balloon. I slowly continue to add air until it gets to the size that I want. Once it's to the size that I want, I hold it upside down to let it cool. Once it's fully cooled, I use a blowtorch and a knife to cut off the excess. Before we add the nose, I'm going to finish the little details like the inside of the mouth and giving him some rosy cheeks. Now it's time to add our nose. I start out by turning on the balloon light and placing it in the cake first, and then putting our sugar sphere over top. Now he's finished and ready for Christmas. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe.